So Bernie Sanders was on the Joe Rogan podcast a while back when he was running for president. Now, not to brag or anything, even though that's exactly what I'm about to do, your boy is the reason why he got on. It was because, I've been on Joe's podcast a bunch of times, and I'm friends with him, and I was also friends with Bernie's campaign manager, Faz Shakir, and so I was able to behind the scenes sort of facilitate that. And I'm actually very proud of that, because when you go and look at that podcast and you read the comments, I mean, it proved exactly what I thought would happen, which is Bernie changed the minds of a lot of Joe Rogan's listeners. You have plenty of people in Joe Rogan's audience view themselves as apolitical or view themselves as centrist. He has plenty who view themselves as right-wing. But the sense I get is that even the ones who are right-wing in some sort of vague, I'm anti-establishment sense. And so as soon as these people got exposed to Bernie and they realized, oh, he is probably the most anti-establishment candidate. He's the one who wants to shake up the status quo and business as usual the most. He's the one who's clearly fighting for me. And even if I might not agree with him on certain things, clearly his heart's in the right place and he means well, and he's trying to improve my life and everybody's life around me, so I like him. So you go read those comments and, man, it almost bring a tear to your eye how much Bernie is able to, simply by telling the truth and explaining his philosophy, make people who used to think he was crazy go, I actually kind of like this guy. So I believe in the power of persuasion and discourse, and I don't think you're ever going to change everybody's mind. Like if Bernie sat down with Sean Hannity, you wouldn't get that same reaction from Sean Hannity's audience. But I knew that from Rogan's audience, you probably would get that. So I'm actually really proud of the fact that I got him on, and then he knocked it out of the park, and Joe did a great job in the conversation. So it was glorious. If you haven't watched that yet, go check it out and go read the comments, because it'll really bring a smile to your face. But anyway, so he was on Joe Rogan's show. Another person who Joe Rogan is friendly with is Elon Musk. He's been on his show at least once, probably multiple times. Well, a brilliant YouTube user, and I want to give full credit. So I jotted down the name here, and it's really important I give it because this guy deserves it. Justin T. Brown on YouTube. Justin T. Brown. Everybody go subscribe to that channel. And I'm going to show you some of the video here. You're not going to see the whole video. I'll leave the whole video in the video description box, so click it and watch the entire video. But he spliced together Bernie Sanders eviscerating Elon Musk in a fake conversation. And, both of the videos are from when they were respectively on Joe Rogan's podcast. Take a look.
Over the last 30 years, the top 1% has seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth. The bottom half of America has seen a $900 billion decline in their wealth.
That's strange.
No, that is insane. And that has got to end.
Yeah, like what are the set of things that can be done to make the future better?
Your point is that we have to, I think as I understand what you're saying, we have to redefine what being a great nation is about.
What if we dig a tunnel under LA, and then other people asked us to dig tunnels, and so we said yes in a few cases.
That really doesn't improve people's well-being.
People dig holes in the ground all the time.
I don't think that that's terribly important.
Hole in the ground is better than no hole in the ground.
What are you talking about?
What about like a little tiny underground spaceship, basically?
I don't want to become a science fiction.
You could put video games in it.
You don't have to do any of that.
I mean, the Model X can do this like ballet thing to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
That doesn't do anything.
We should do a flamethrower.
That is insane.
It makes sense, though.
Look, here's the bottom line on this thing.
Flamethrower.
You are the wealthiest guy in America, worth about $150 billion.
That's true.
And you paid very, very little in federal income taxes.
Yeah. But my goal is try to do useful things.
You certainly don't do it by tweeting every day.
I mean, it's way easier to be mean on social media than it is to be mean in person.
You know what's great is that we're seeing a growth in the number of billionaires in America. Isn't that terrific? And we got one guy who's worth $155 billion. How great. Oh, by the way, do you see the yacht that billionaire has? It's 3 miles long. Isn't that great?
I do basically, I think people don't totally understand what I do with my time. Fine.
How many Americans actually believe that we should give tax breaks to billionaires and cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? Very few.
I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever.
Rich, you can go out and get a job at McDonald's in the minimum wage and go bankrupt because of medical bills that you can't pay. Paying taxes.
Well,
That's what I want you to do right now.
no,
Do it.
no,
Yes.
definitely not.
Again, I'm not showing you the whole video here. The whole video is at least a minute longer. So go check it out. I'll leave it in the video description box. This guy deserves all the views he can get. It's at, I think when I saw it, it was at like 85,000, something like that. We got to get this thing over 1 million. It kind of blew up even more on Twitter, which is where I originally saw it. But go give Justin T. Brown a view and a sub. This is brilliant. I love this stuff, man. And it's hilarious. Elon Musk was just on Twitter the other day, and he said, "Let's return to the roaring 20s." Carry the 6. You do know what happened in 1929, right? And then you do know what happened after that. It's this little thing called the Great Depression. I mean, the roaring 20s, generally understood to be a colossal bubble. You had low taxes on the wealthy. You had deregulation. Who was it? I believe it was Herbert Hoover who ushered in those same policies. By the way, later on, those same policies embraced by Ronald Reagan. There was a Great Recession right after him. There was the Great Recession after George W. Bush implemented those same policies. By the way, Clinton also helped with deregulation as well with the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, which repealed Glass-Steagall, which was the separation between commercial banking and investment banking. They got rid of that. And every time in history you do this, where you do massive deregulation for financial institutions and you cut taxes on the rich, you have what's called a boom-bust cycle. And that's exactly what we had in the 1920s. So this idea that it was like, oh, it was so glorious. No, the whole point of the Roaring 20s is at the time people felt like, or some people felt like, oh my God, it's so glorious. There was incredible income and wealth inequality at that time as well. But it was fake. That was the whole point. I mean, did you miss this part of history class? So look, I mean, you get the essence of both Elon Musk and Bernie Sanders in that back and forth. You get, Elon's talking about a flamethrower in video games and AI and robots and digging a tunnel underneath LA or whatever. And you got Bernie Sanders who's like, hey, income and wealth inequality, totally rigged and unfair system, totally corrupt elite establishment that's not looking out for working people. And that really does capture the essence of both of these guys. And Elon Musk, even since being on the Rogan podcast, these clips are from a while back, he's gone even harder in I want to say an Ayn Rand direction, but it's not even Ayn Rand because Ayn Rand was against all forms of government welfare, at least in theory, whereas even though she took Social Security and stuff like that, even though she was against Social Security, but Elon Musk took $4.9 billion in a government subsidy, and that helped him with his businesses. So, he's out there talking up the virtues of small government. Meanwhile, he's swimming in subsidy money. But, forgive me if I don't have much sympathy for a guy who made $39 billion in one day. Tesla market cap was at one point over $1 trillion, and he's crying about taxes on Twitter. If anybody should be taxed more, dude, it's you. And he's not even being totally forthright with all of his taxes. Again, one of the other things he tweeted the other day was just in case you're wondering, I paid $12 billion in taxes. ProPublica did an investigation that showed what's called the true tax rate of billionaires. So in other words, it's not just the income that they get and then the tax on that income. It's the total growth of net worth and then what percentage of taxes they pay relative to that. And he only paid 3-point-something% in taxes for real. And then also, that was before he learned about the scheme, what's called buy, borrow, die. So in other words, you instead of taking money out of your company to live on, what he does is he leaves it in the company and he borrows from a bank against his stock. So when you do that, you don't have to pay any taxes at all. And in fact, there was at least a year where you paid no taxes at all. So, it's just amazing to me that here you have a guy who's trying to claim to the world that he's some sort of victim of high taxes. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I don't like the fact that when Elon or anybody pays taxes, what does it usually go to in the United States of America? You guys know this. It usually goes to endless war. I mean, we have a military budget over a 10-year period, which is $7 to $8 trillion. Like, that's what the money's going towards. It's going towards endless war. It's going towards Wall Street bailouts. So I understand people who say, hey, man, at least spend my money on good stuff. I get that, and I completely agree with that. I'd rather have that money go towards healthcare and education and paid vacation time and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter is, when you have extreme wealth, by its very nature, it corrupts democracy. Because when you have a small number of people who become so wealthy and powerful, they ultimately can buy the government through campaign contributions. And they can craft policy to serve their own interests and their needs versus the needs of the working class. And so there's an argument, even like taxes going towards stuff aside, there's an argument to curb the excesses of extreme wealth. In fact, I think it's a phenomenally solid argument, and it's a correct argument. So there you have it. Bernie Sanders on Joe Rogan, Elon Musk on Joe Rogan, Justin T. Brown. What a phenomenal job he did with this. A lot of creative people out there, man. A lot of creative people doing a lot of great work. So, well done. I hope everybody enjoyed that as much as I did. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.